'Tis a Monday evening, cold, November, damp. I'm not too sure if this stream will stay up. Just been having some things on the mind. Not even too sure what it is exactly I want to discuss. It's like thinking without thought, or thinking but not being able to pinpoint what it is I'm actually thinking about. So I guess I'm experiencing a sensation, maybe some emotions or something like that. And I don't know, when observing the landscape of YouTube world in the circles that I visit and spend my time, things have been topsy-turvy recently. Now, in part, this was something during the era of the bleeding edge red pill I would bring up every so often, like looking into the crystal ball. This would be something we could expect to see a rise in um, conflict, a rise in desperation, a rise in emotional heightening, um, hysteria, etc. And perhaps this is the start of that, or um, perhaps it's been like this for a long time. I can't exactly say when things have taken a turn, albeit maybe for the worse, it would seem. There's a lot of discontent, a lot of unhappy people, it would seem, recently, a lot of strife. Um, Good evening, Silver Bullet. Good to see you. And I'm trying to work out where do I fit in with all of it, or do I fit in? Do I belong? That sort of thing. What is the purpose? What is the point? What is the meaning? What is the gain? What is the benefit? All these important questions, I suppose, one should ask themselves at some point or another. And perhaps I've been a bit lax and just in the, I don't know, let's say 5 months, just been coasted along, perhaps not aware of my actions and behaviors, or not aware of my influence, which is kind of funny from my personal point of view, because um, in my mind, the way I've been brought up, I don't have any, with a low self-esteem, I don't have any influence. I never thought of myself as a notable type of person, or a someone to have that kind of power in a way, or reach, or perhaps people may even, dare I say, like look up to or something. I mean, this is why I find having compliments always a tricky one, because it doesn't really compute with me. I'm more used to the uh, criticisms and you're not doing enough, Billy, and what's wrong with you, and this is all your fault type of thing. So that kind of appreciation is very nice and heartwarming. It's just I don't know how to really process it or show my gratitude, as it were. So I suppose I'll say it now. Those who do like what I have to offer and enjoy my content, or however it is you want to put it, then many thanks, and you're very welcome for it. And I'm glad to be of service. And that there, glad to be of service, is a little clue into how my personality is structured, which might sound virtuous or noble or kind-hearted, might sound charitable, might sound like, hey, why can't everyone be of service? But as with all things, things can backfire and not be a positive force. Oh, some more people are coming in. Welcome everyone. Gather around, take a seat, be comfortable. This is just me navigating some of my thoughts. So I'm a bit, I don't know, it's not scripted or anything like that. There isn't a particular subject matter. I'm just doing some self-reflection, reflecting, and I don't even know if this stream will stay up. But I am forever grateful that you are here, and so I'm not alone, and that being alone is another characteristic lost in your own kind of ruminations and thoughts. The mind can become such a private world, and in part is one of the reasons, I suppose, why I come to such circles and say hello and try to mingle, so that, you know, I'm not living in this world thinking, am I the only one thinking these sort of thoughts, or am I doomed to never speak out aloud and to release the pressure from the bottle of the containment of emotions? And sadly, I think that's becoming more of the case, where I am finding, on the one hand, that people want me to speak my mind, they want me to share my thoughts, which is great. I think for everyone involved. And in part, I have to say this is one of the reasons why I enjoy Good Mother's channel, because it helped me to speak more freely, more comfortably, less anxiety. I can, thinking back to my early days, I'm sure there is a stark contrast in the way I speak. I could be much more honest in what I say, and as such be more authentic and more true. Whereas perhaps in the past, or before even coming to YouTube, you know, you have to be a bit more hesitant. And when you put such limitations on yourself, it's like there's a song inside you, and there's an expression like, don't, how does it go? Don't die without your song being heard, or something like that. But the point is that if you're having to bite your tongue constantly, then you're suffocating your spirit in a way. So places like Good Mother's channel, and not just there, I mean, I do visit other places. You know, some people might be like, oh, why are you always spending your time there? I mean, you know, there was the Bleeding Edge Red Pill. That was a great chance for me to spread my wings, as it were, and to say some of the things that I felt were true and needed to be said, or were relevant or important. Often, I mean, with the Bleeding Edge, it was said, I'm pretty sure, in every stream, that, look, this is an uncomfortable stream. This is what, you know, it's like the bitter Bleeding Edge Red Pill in a way. It's going to be some harsh truths. And that brings in another dynamic where you've got this, at least with me, with this, I said earlier in the stream, this what would seem to be a nobility of like wanting to be of service, to be a giver, to be a codependent, as it were, to be like an empath, always giving. And this, you know, this isn't healthy. This isn't good, and it can be detrimental to other people as well as yourself. Hold on, I see some more people are coming in. Welcome, thank you all for coming. This is a Billy coming to Jesus kind of evening where I want to be honest and frank, and as much as I prefer my content to be subject based, not particularly personally directed, even though I have been making personal or direct insights. To be honest, I'd rather be more providing general insights and having that for people to take that and apply that in their own lives, in their own sort of ways, rather than me necessarily directly putting or directly targeting. I don't know if that's the right word, but directly assessing someone on a personal, direct level. Because really, I believe that I should really belong in therapy, you know, and it poses dangers. And perhaps I've been a bit lax or careless with some of my observations or my insights, because I'm trying to be of service to a group of people, but then the other group, typically the ones who are on the receiving end, don't appreciate being underneath a microscope lens. But the thing is, I never thought I'd have interactions with them, so I was always like an outsider. And much of my life, I've always been feeling that kind of sentiment. Like I recall recoil from wanting to say an INFJ, but the INFJ is neither here nor there. They are in limbo or something like that. And I don't know if this is true about me or not, but I feel that sort of way. Like I want to connect with people, but at the same time, it's something I don't feel like I can ever really fully do, which kind of curses me in a life of solitude in a way. So if I were to find an emotional connection for someone like me, at least, or for me, it's very important. It's something sacred. And so, like, if I had a wife or a loved one, it would be a deep, from my point of view, it would be something that is a very deep and important bond. And perhaps that is dangerous because of that kind of heavy attachment. I think in a sexual way, they call it demisexual, where you basically you only really want to have sex with people on that you have an emotional connection with. So like one night stands isn't really something I'm particularly interested in. I want that sort of that emotional sort of, I see your soul and you can see my soul. This is going psychologically speaking, it would be like the sense of self and the identity and things like that. So like an NPC type of person, not interested with. There's no intimacy. There's no really getting to know someone. And in part, this is probably what kind of fuels me to be a giver type of, or be. I don't want to make it sound like a giver because it sounds like straight up virtue signaling. Like, you know, I'd rather phrase it in a way of like be of service, but it's the same thing. So, but that desire and want ends up causing a problem in that essentially boundaries can be crossed because the boundaries aren't really the focus. It's the it's that forming a bridge connection. This is why when people talk about like empathy as such a great thing, like we should all have empathy. Yes, it's all wonderful and fantastic, but that empathy can backfire and get you into trouble and could be turned into a kind of toxic way. Angler, I see you're here. Great you're here, man. Angler, I've been enjoying your content recently. I appreciate what you're putting out. You know, here is a man, or there is a man who, I'm not sure how to put it, who I feel has a good heart, and a lot of you have good hearts. And I see a sex bot. Kindly, someone take care of that for me, please. Thank you, many thanks. But anyway, so now I'm talking about a bit of compassion, I guess, with a heart. And to what extent as well is another question. Where do we draw a line? It's one thing maybe to give someone a bit of criticism. It's another thing to maybe blast them because they're completely out of order. It's another thing again to continually blast, because at that point, if the message isn't really getting home to them, for me personally, I'll be like, what's the point? It's like I'm banging my head against the wall. But I'm never really one to want to tell people what to do. So the people I interact with, I will, if they ask me for insight or my observations, I have little filter. I'll be like, okay, here's more than enough information. The trouble is what they do with that information, or how it's not like filtered out, peripheralated out, the ripples on the water, is something I'm going to have to be a bit more aware of. Because although I could easily turn around and be like, hey, that's not my responsibility, or it's not, what happens to it isn't really my fault. But I do have there is something I can do about it. And that's basically being more careful with just speaking completely like loose lips and freely, which is a bit of a sad thing, because it basically means that despite wanting to be openly authentic and honest and just spout out every possible idea that might be relevant and useful, it's the lesson of like, knowledge is power and power corrupts. And this has been said before, where, so taking it in the narcissistic subject matter kind of direction, where the narcissists are watching videos, they're learning. The narcissist in today's modern world is more aware of what narcissism is, and as such, they either weaponize it and use it against the victims further, or they use it in a way that helps keep them undetected, to cloak and fly under the radar. Now, the narcissist will always be at a disadvantage in a way. They're always forever playing catch up. So that kind of thought or way of looking at it, I always considered it as something that would not really stop me putting out information, because the people who are either true victims, or with, I'll put it this way, people with a genuine heart will be able to use that information in a way that is of benefit, they'll be willing to do the hard work, as it were, and not cut corners, and be authentic. Whereas the narcissist is going to be looking to cheat and cut corners and try and pass fakery as if it was true. So it's never the genuine article. So they'll always forever be at in a negative. And I say that because many times I've considered whether or not I wanted to release a video or an article, or write it up. I don't know, some of you may have heard of this expression or not, but this idea of going supernova, how to really defeat, like it's a bit of a cheesy way of putting it, but how to, I mean, basically what you're doing really is you're kind of like unlocking a psychopathic beast within you to go up against the narcissist, and it's a act of desperation, but it happens from time to time. And whether or not it's something I wanted to put out there that could easily be assimilated by the narcissist. So I've always been a bit hesitant about doing that. But as I'm creating more and more content, and my time is more on YouTube, and I'm speaking more vocally about things, and I've got this problem where I will just like go above and beyond with what I give out in information, then maybe I'm wising up the narcissist a bit too much. Because a lot of the people with the genuine heart, this is the thing, although I was saying moments before that the narcissist is a little bit on the back foot, in their favor is that the narcissist is quite quick at adapting, whereas the victims or the people with genuine hearts, unfortunately, are slow learners. And it's because it's the hard inner work, it's the painful work, so it takes time to process and much slower. I don't even know if I actually played. Should I play my tune? I just jumped straight into an intro. I had a song I wanted to play at the start of this. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Next time. But I will share an image. There we are. So we have something to look at. And I've seen it happen kind of recently, where people will give me a thanks for teaching them, which is already like what did I teach you exactly? I don't really think I was giving lessons, but for giving them the sort of strategy or tactics on how to defeat their nemesis. And I'm like, whoa, what was it I taught you exactly? You know, like, damn, I didn't even okay, I wasn't sure that was the intention I had in mind with whatever it was I told you, if I even told you that this is the thing, because to get the clarification sometimes is a bit dubious. You know, sometimes people will kind of put words in my mouth and be like, you said such and such, and I'm self-doubting because I'm having to sort of translate. Like, I'm pretty sure I didn't literally say what you just claimed I said, but I'm trying to decipher, was a generalized interpretation that may be, you know. So then we have this problem of interpretation or misinterpreting things, I guess, which is why in part I try to be articulated as possible, to be clear. Anyway, so I'm not sure how feeling about certain things, some things. I feel, I guess maybe in a little bit of a way, kind of castrated. Like, it's kind of aggravating to have people say they want your opinion, and then you give them an opinion, but they don't want to hear it, and they're actually angry at you for speaking out. And I'm seeing this with the school governing board. Yeah, I'm on a panel to bring up objections, put forward opinions, but it's like you're not allowed to have an opinion. They're allowed to have an opinion, but I'm not. So I don't know if this means like a formal, like I want to sort of withdraw within a shell kind of thing, because I don't think that's particularly right. Like I was saying earlier, it sort of crushes your spirit. And even though I might be in disbelief, it would seem as though a lot of people want me to cover topics, or to speak up, or to help them navigate whatever kind of landscape they're finding themselves in. So perhaps maybe I need to just be a bit more attentive to how we're going to maneuver forward. Because as much as a people pleaser one might want to be, unfortunately, we all probably know this anyway, you can't please everybody, right? And I'm sure I've picked up my fair share of trolls already. I've always tried to be of neutral ground. As I try to stay on the outside or have some neutrality. But I mean, maybe it's normal, maybe it's inevitable that at some point you're going to pick up either trolls or haters or something like that. So recently, I've been going through, I mean, I mentioned it now and again. I'll mention, like, I have lots of little notes and articles, but the last couple of days, back at it again, I suppose, and trying to write things down, trying to it's kind of funny. I'm trying to unlearn what it is I've learned, in a way. It's like, I'm sure in my rising up, in being known amongst you guys, maybe you can sort of feedback to me, like in the beginning when we first met. I'm pretty sure I was spouting out a lot of psychological jargon, but I'm trying not to now. I'm trying to, like, get some of these clinical terms out of my vocabulary so I can be a bit more down to earth, or not so. I don't know if I'm doing that so that I could be more relatable instead of sounding more clinical. Because then I get a criticism like I'm being righteous, and it's like, come on now. I suppose I can see that, like, you're talking down at people, you're preaching, and it's kind of funny because, like, I'm trying to preach, but at the same time not tell you what to do. Like, I prefer people making their own, being responsible for their own choices and decisions. Now, I don't know how close that statement is to being true. I mean, I don't. Maybe I might say, like, in my advice to you would be such and such. But you know, I find it hard to imagine myself telling someone what to do when I myself don't necessarily know what to do. It's like I'm just as lost as you are, but these are my observations, and these are the potential outcomes I can see before you, depending how you want to go about doing things. And I think sometimes my hints, wink wink, nudge nudge, are missed. I was having a chat with some people recently, and it was coming on to the topic of, what was it talking about? Was it black pill or nihilism? And again, I was saying, like, I don't get it. I don't get why people give black pillars such a bad rap. It's like, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I'd rather be more black pilled in a way than red pilled. And I said, it's like, we're all going to die. Isn't it great? Isn't it wonderful? And the kind of shock I imagine on their face, it's like, what on earth are you saying? You weirdo. What do you mean we're all going to die? That's terrible. How can you say that? And it's like, I say that because life and death are so closely linked. So when I say we're all going to die, isn't it fantastic? At the same time, I'm also saying, isn't life fantastic? We should really appreciate the life that we have and make the most of it, because one day it's not going to be there for you and you're going to be dead. And that death, in a way, isn't something to be downhearted about. It's a celebration that you've had a life, isn't it? I mean, you complete life, and what's the result of completing life? You die. So it's a form of celebration. I mean, what would be sadder? To live forever? You don't want to die? To me, that sounds like torture. I prefer the idea of having a limitation, to have the appreciation for the time that you've got, to not squander it thinking that it will never happen. But I can see why a simple sentence, we're all going to die, isn't it great, can, without doing any sort of deep diving into what that sentence entails, can, I suppose, rub people up the wrong way or make them think whatever it is they think. I don't know. So I'm noticing that confusion with how I am being perceived is becoming more evident. Like, fairly recently, I was trying to bring up an issue of parenting, and it seemed like the focus was lost, and people were just regarding what I was doing as feeding trolls. That wasn't really the case. I had to sort of interact with said troll in a way because they were connected to the parenting part of it, but the focus was on the young soul that will eventually grow up. And this was a little bit disheartening, especially when you hear it from MGTOWs and Manosphere, who want the well-being of young men or boys and children, and they totally, you guys dropped the ball on that one. I'm sorry, you totally missed what was happening there, and instead you saw it as feeding trolls. But never mind, c'est la vie. that's finished now. There's no point digging it up and harping on about it. No change, as much as we might like to intervene or interject, we know nothing's going to happen. So I don't know. And that's another area, I suppose, of contention where I don't know if it's like a cyclic. Every so often people start going on about like, what does it mean to be a MGTOW? What is the definition? And then come forward a bunch of ideas. I don't know. So what's going on in the chat? Anyone got any questions? You can be kind of personal if you want. You can ask me, so Billy, do you have any regrets? Billy, I heard a good question from someone that Silver Bullet might have asked it. I can't remember where I saw it, but they asked someone, what was the two biggest things you've learned in the last 15 years? And I thought, God, blimey, 15 years, that's a long time just to learn two things. But just so happened when I actually put my brain to it, I was like, hey, 15 years, actually, that's kind of coincidental in my case, because so 15 years ago would be like the year, well, I'm going to say 2006, because that was when I got into my relationship with the mother of my child, which is near enough 15 years. So one lesson I can say I learned from that time, like continually proceeding forward, is a lesson of, it's in the ballpark of self-esteem, in that I am someone who is worthy of a relationship, who did their part, who did care. What ended up happening wasn't my fault, and so it's something I shouldn't really beat myself up over. And when you've got that kind of like that low self-esteem, like you're not worth it, you deserve to be suffering, you live a life of pain, despite trying to lift your morale up, it's a constant effort. This is why self-esteem is something that requires maintenance. Don't be neglectful and think to yourselves that just because I have self-esteem now, bingo, that's it's going to remain with you. There'll be ups and downs. So that's one thing I see a question from Angler. How are things going with your child? She was ill. Oh wait, I see a question from Silver Bullet. Okay, before the car or after? Okay. How things with your child? Okay. She's okay. She's getting a bit more feisty. I don't know, that's the word. Maybe rebellious, or a bit more bossy. I think I'm becoming a bit too in her face. So she's kind of zoned out. Like sometimes I'll be talking to her and I don't even know if she's listening anymore. She's so familiar with me or my presence that I've become a piece of furniture. Like, and the annoying part is like I'll pick her up from school, and I'll like, hey, how you doing, honey? How's your day at school? She doesn't want to tell me, And that used to boggle my mind. It's like, how can you not tell me how your day, like amnesia, like she can't remember. I'm like, you literally just had school, but you don't want to tell me, like you can't remember. And the best way I can kind of put it is, if you try and imagine it from their point of view, they've just spent a whole day in school. The last thing they want to do is now relive it, telling you what happened. They want to go home and muck around and play and stuff like that. So that's probably why she can't remember. Like, she doesn't want to have to think about her day of school. She's just glad it's finished. So I don't ask her. I mean, I ask her how her day at school is, but I do it in a sort of like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I don't do it with a sort of like, "No, come on, I want you to tell me. I need to know, like what happened, morning, afternoon, or lunchtime and afternoon." So I know she ain't going to give me an answer. But the annoying part is, so after I get the sort of, "Hey, how you doing?" and I'm checking her over, like any bruises, any scar, any like what kind of state is she in? Well, typically, as soon as I see her exit the building, I'm on the lookout to see, is she in tears or is she happy? Because it's hit and miss. And obviously, if she's in tears, I'm quickly rushing over to try and soothe her and comfort her. But so it's home time. You've got a lot of parents around, and she's excited. Like, it's like, yeah, Dad, yeah, okay, you're here. Like, damn right, you're here, Dad. You should be here. Like, you're my stability. I expect you to be here. And it's like, yes, honey, well, of course, and I am. But she's very quick to be like, right, I'm off now to go harass all the other parents and see what they're up to. So she's more interested in what the other parents are doing than me. And I'm standing there like a coat hook, holding her bag and her coat like a plum, while she's off gallivanting with the other parents, the other kids. And she's beginning to, I'm going to have to like pull her over on this one. She'll find out what the other kids are doing after school. So let's say they're going to the park or the playground. And she will ask those kids' parents, "Can I come with you to the playground?" Instead of coming up to me and asking me. It's like, I don't even get a say. So, and the other parents are pressured and they're not sure how to answer. They're kind of looking at me sort of bewildered. So it's a very awkward sort of thing. But on the whole, she's doing okay. She's growing. She's learning. Her artistic skills are coming along very well, I suppose. Her reading is very good. Her spelling, her memory is pretty fantastic. Well, I don't know. It's sort of, I think it's like subjective. She remembers what she wants to remember, but when it's like, "Where's your jumper gone?" It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah. She's been staying up later and later. I'm beginning to wonder if that's an autistic kind of thing, where she's so in her own little world and bubble that the physicality of feeling tired isn't registering. Or maybe it's just because she's a kid and kids have like tons of energy. So she doesn't show signs of tiredness. She can just stay up late if she wants to. Well, she tries to. But Christmas is coming around, so she's looking forward to Christmas. Oh, here's a funny one. She, over the weekend, she decided to cut her own hair. So I sort of catch up with her, and she's got this guilty look on her face, like, oh, Dad's, I'm rumbled, Dad's caught me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's holding the scissors, and then she's kind of beginning to pout, like, don't look at me. And I'm like, why, what's going on? What were you doing to those scissors? And then she's like, don't look at my hair. And I'm like, so I kind of like, I deduce, I'm like, oh, you've trimmed your hair, have you? And she's a little bit embarrassed and upset about it, but it's not like she's made herself bald or something. It's not too bad actually. It's just like, come on, honey, it's not that bad. I'm not gonna fix it. I'm gonna leave it. I mean, yeah, I should fix it, I suppose. But there's she's got bits of hair in one corner of the room. In the other corner, it's like, how on earth did you cut your hair? It's like you've just been walking around the room, randomly hacking at it, or what? Because there's hair everywhere. And it's it's like, don't worry, it's cold weather. You can get away with wearing a hat. No one's gonna really notice too much. It's not as bad as her like getting marker pens and trying to do makeup with that. I mean, and then the other thing I suppose I comes to mind with the kid, I can mention it quickly, is, see, this is bad Billy. I didn't teach her to ride a bicycle early enough. So now that she's older, she's 9 years old. For her to ride a bike, she's developed. She kind of has that fear or the mindset of like, I can't do it. So she can't really ride a bike, and it's taken me ages to find stabilizer wheels that fit a more grown. Because stabilizer wheels usually are for little kids. Once they're the medium size or whatever, it's harder to find wheels that actually will be bolted onto a bicycle. But luckily, I managed to find a set that will. It's actually the second set, because the first set doesn't have this kind of bracket. So every time you push off on the bike, the stabilizer swings, it pivots on the axle, which is useless, because no matter how much you try and tighten it up, it will just pivot. So it needs this bracket to stop it, like a pendulum swinging. So it needs this bracket there. Luckily, I found one, but the weather is not the greatest, so she's yet to use it. But at least it's there now. I think some of you might have heard me talk about fixing up a bike over the last couple of days. Well, that's what I was doing. So I'm going to get her on that bike, damn it. But thank you, Angela, for asking. Now, oh, you guys have got so many questions. What is the most happiest memory, Billy? Oh, that's an easy one. The birth of my daughter. God, without a doubt. The birth of my daughter, or finding out that the missus was pregnant and that we're going to have a kid. Ooh. I don't know. It's a bit hard. But it's a similar kind of thing. Yeah. I know it sounds cheesy and corny, but it is. Right. JR. Billy, is it the goat before the car or after? I'm just going to say before. I'm not going to rationalize it at all. I don't know. Okay. Silver Bullet asks, who was the actor you created, Billy? So Silver Bullet is talking about, if you saw in my community tab, I posted a little sculpture I made ages ago. That was my former business, as it were, my self-employment as a model maker. That was made with polymer clay, and it was based on, should I tell you? Lance Henriksen, Bishop from Aliens. Oh, we have a happy moment. It's not a question, but it's a happy moment, so we'll share it. A happy from Shinobi One. A happy moment of mine was watching the blackness fill the blue color in my newborn son's eyes. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's, it sounds corny and cheesy and stuff like that, but it is. It's like a marvelous miracle. Um, it's surreal, little kids, and watching them grow, and their like Angela was talking about this earlier with the empathy. Um, is that innocence and and yet to be corrupted by the influences of society and life. So the innocence, the purity that children have, um, and the wisdom in a way, because you look at how grown-ups act and you think this is bonkers, but when you see how kids are behaving, it's something much more uh, organic or natural about it. Us older humans are such complicated kerfuffle organisms. Imagine where we'd be or what would be like if we didn't have such conditioning, such influences, or you could almost describe it as like a mental infection that makes us, well, it's the bullshit narratives we like to tell ourselves that kind of send us awry. Yes, JR asks the hard-hitting questions. No, it's very important. Hey, here's the riddle of the riddle. It's like go before the cart or after. Question is, what's in the cart? Ah, okay. I don't see any more questions, but no, that was nice. I enjoyed answering some of your questions. It kind of got me out of my. I was a bit sort of woe is me, I guess, at the beginning of the stream. I'm a bit cold. You might hear a little bit of a shiver in my voice. I'm kind of getting to the conclusion that these, like, I've been poor man, house fire. I've been like, I've got how many candles in front of me now? 4. I think one of them's gone out. 4 little tea lights. It ain't cutting it. No, this ain't gonna do. I'm gonna have to up my game. You know, it's not even properly winter yet. Well, I did jot down a few ideas that were. I've already covered them. Yeah. Yeah. I think the most concerning is the idea that insight can be dangerous, or I don't know. The idea, you know, that Spider-Man saying, "With great power comes great responsibility." I'm sure you all heard it before. I was thinking, perhaps maybe it should be the other way around, because really responsibility should be first, should it not? And then if one is responsible, great power potentially will follow. Whereas the way it is currently, with power being first, I mean, if you've got great power but you don't have the responsibility, you will quickly lose that power. So I think the responsibility is more important than the idea of having power. I think maybe in some ways the responsibility is the power. I don't know. Semantics, I guess. What's this? Bully, beef, and cabbage make you fart, Angler. All right. So, what is everyone's poison then? What is the today's subject matter? Right. What gives you flatulence? For me, it would be onions. The thing is, I like onions. You know. Hey, here's a funny one. When I fart, this one's for Father Saunders and the Butthole Nation. When I fart, it's my arse blowing you a kiss. And that's a good point there, Shinobi One. Don't be irresponsible with your great power. Brother Billy the Goat, use it. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's something some people might find like, I've heard this word responsibility, but I don't know how to do it. Or I don't know what it means exactly. I don't know how to be responsible. Well, then perhaps take some advice from Shinobi One and try it from the other point of view. Then don't be irresponsible. And that will kind of guide you in a better direction, hopefully. And I think also that's another kind of a little trick up the sleeve, as it were. Like, if in doubt, try and, or if confused by something or whatever, is try and look at it from the other way. Like, you might say, I want to be strong, but I don't know what that means. Well, do you know what it means to be weak? So then don't do that. And fingers crossed, that means you'll end up being strong. I don't know. RP Pope, my mum is the textbook reason as to why women are not fit to have power. I don't know. I see this idea like gender war. I think it's more based really. What makes the difference is the psychology, not necessarily the gender. Because I mean, it depends on what we're talking about when we say power, I guess. But I'll use a broad brush when men want to talk about like a lot of women are mentally ill, sort of thing, and they mean a lot, like the vast majority. I can see why, and I, generally speaking, agree with it. But so are a lot of guys, if we're honest, right? I mean, if we've been, this is the thing, like when like you look into the narcissist vault of knowledge or whatever, you know, you're busy pointing at them, saying that they're mentally deranged, but what does that mean about you? Because you're the one that's been messing with these people. So guilty on both sides. You have to, you know, fess up. Now the potential, or what matters, is that ability to be accountable, to self-reflect, to acknowledge, and to want the willingness and desire and want to change. There's a Wayne Dyer I think he got it from somewhere else, but I learned it from him. That says when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. I suppose that could be taken out of context, but the idea, I think you get the message anyway. So, and this is also another reason why when people are trying to evaluate a potential partner and they're like, oh, does she have a body count? Does she have a career mindset? Like, is she a like boss bitch type of person and all this sort of stuff? Like, yeah, those sort of things can help clue you in. But what I'm more interested to know is, it sounds a bit silly, but is there a brain? Is there a heart? You know, is there warm blood? And you'll be better chances with such things. You know. So yeah, I mean, the gender isn't so much, at least for me personally, like the way I see things, isn't so much the issue, because when you've got mental illness, it's not sexist. You know, it doesn't matter if they're male or female, really. It's the character of a person, their intention, their motivations, their spark, their morals and ethics and things like that. And I mean, this isn't to disregard their history or their background. It just means additional things to consider. And just because someone ticks all these boxes still doesn't guarantee you're going to have a relationship or even a friendship. I mean, you could still totally dislike each other. You know, they could be, on paper, they could tick all the boxes, be sound, they could be a unicorn, but the two of you just don't get along. So there's no guarantee. And that's one of the sad things I hear about the MGTOW, where there's, and I understand it, I'm not angry with them or blame them, but this kind of like, nope, I'm just going to shut the door completely, and it's a case closed, never ever in a billion years, you know, ever going to happen. But fair enough, that's their choice. I mean, maybe I'm coming from a slight bias because I've got a daughter. I'm a single dad. You know, both she and I, well, I would like her to have a mother, and of course she would like to have a mother. So, dun dun dun. What does that mean for Billy? It means that potentially one day in the future, you know, I'm not particularly looking out for. Like, I'm not going on dating sites. I'm not asking the friends, "Hey, do you know anyone that I could hook up with?" or something like that. It's just, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, so be it. Where me and my kid are still gonna, you know, carry on with life, sort of thing. It's just going to be an unfortunate sort of aspect that we have to deal with. It's kind of funny. I was chatting to this is going back during the when Halloween, we were doing the trick or treating. So I've got this Halloween makeup box thing, and it's got all these colored creams. I don't know, they're eyeliner pencils or lips, some sort of crayon type pencil thing. It's got these sponges. It's got these sort of Q-tip cotton bud shaped things. And imagine my horror. I'm like, what the hell is all this stuff? And the next day, my kid still had, she had to go to school, right, the next day, but she still had some of this makeup on her face. And I was saying, and she was upset because she's going to school looking like a bit like a clown, like, oh, everyone's gonna laugh at me. So I drop her off at the gates, and the teacher is like, there's always a teacher like posted at the gates to welcome the kids in, kind of thing. So the teacher's like, good morning, how are you doing? And my kid is sort of like sulk and just storms past. So the teacher looks at me, is like, is she all right? And I'm like, yeah, well, and I'm explaining, like, yeah, Halloween last night, we did the makeup, and I did the makeup. And she's like, oh, I see. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just getting the sponge, and I'm just stabbing her in the face with a sponge, and I'm getting these crayon things, and I'm just drawing eyebrows or whatever it is, eyeliner on her eyes. I don't even know if it's lipstick. She's like, oh no, it sounds like you need a parenting course, like a female parenting course. I was like, oh fucking hell. But it's kind of true, you know. Like, so that's another, I suppose, another reason, one of my guilt, my confessions, trying to work out these women, their what would you call it, the toolbox of paraphernalia, you know, hair tongs, hair irons, hair curlers, hair whatevers, I don't know. So it's throw me a bone, help me out. My nightmare. And she obviously, she's getting like 9 years old. She's getting to that age now where her appearance and her fashion. God, here's a ball breaker. I buy these Barbie doll things, right? Disney dolls, Barbie dolls, whatever little dolls, right? They're crap. I mean, boys' action figures, they're far more articulated, right? And they come with guns, and they come with accessories, yeah? Cool. Girl Barbie dolls are the cheapest kind of plastic. There's no articulation. They're pretty big. And I just see this as like a poor investment. But Celavi, so she's got these dolls. They got their doll dresses. She's got it in her head that she wants to customize each and every single one of them. So she'll take a brand new doll and start hacking away at the thing with a pair of, like, cut the hair, cut the dresses, and just makes a blunder, a mess of them. I mean, it's fine. It's all right. I don't mind her being a bit destructive. In fact, when I was a kid, I was very destructive, and I saw it as it's a good thing, because I learned how to, as a model maker, in a way, I was a little bit like a toy maker. So in my older years, destroying all my old toys helped me learn how to make toys. So I see it as creativity. I'm not punishing her or fuming or, you know, like, oh my, but it's just a bit frustrating. You know, you buy something brand new, and then within minutes, it's like, what the hell? You just hacked all the hair off. So I've got all these Frankenstein Barbie dolls. So, Johnny Midnight. At Billy the Goat. You must have grown up with Action Man. We had G.I. Joe. Not so much Action Man. Not so much G.I. Joe. I had a couple. My hold on, let me crack open. One moment. All right. You guys are gonna have to keep an eye on my drinking, unfortunately. That's a brewski. I bought a crate of them, so I'm like, yeah, temptation, naughty. But my cup of tea has gone cold. So, yeah, my toys. I had loads. I was spoiled, so I had lots of toys. expensive toys. Starcom. I had the GI Joe F-14 not Falcon, Tomcat, and that's a big toy. That's like, I don't know. In my mind, I'm thinking like 1.5 feet, maybe a smaller, but it's a big toy. I had loads and loads of Transformers. This is my biggest, if I could go back in time and kick myself in the face or whatever, it would be why on earth did I sell my entire Transformers collection, G1, and it was a huge collection. And I remember I sold it for like £20. For you guys, it would be like maybe $25 or something like that. Something ridiculously, I had no idea of value of money. A complete moron, a complete idiot. And I mean, I totally regret it. Absolutely. Like, even to this day, I'll have like cold night sweats thinking about, oh, my Optimus, I had G1 Optimus Prime, G1 Ultra Magnus. You're making me, I'm on a downer now. But the Starcom, do you guys know Starcom? That was a cool franchise. Magnalock on. So it's like a spaceship kind of thing. But the toys were pretty nifty, I suppose. I don't know how is the thing. Like, if I had one now, I'd probably like dismantle it to see how it works. But it had no batteries, but it seemed like it was motorized almost. The Star Max bomber, you know, I had that. It's a shame. Luckily, I still have my He-Man collection. They're a bit battered. They might be missing some of the accessories, but I still got He-Man. I got Skeletor. I got Battle Cat. I gave Fisto to my kid to play with. I was like, here's some He-Man for your Barbie. And I told her to look after it because that's a valuable toy. But yeah, so I had quite a lot of toys, and not so much now. I miss them. Good old days. The girl dolls come with a Reddit membership. I don't know about that, but the girl doll, the girl sector of the market is crazy. A doll's house costs, I saw a couple of them for like 200 quid upwards. So I don't know what that'd be like US dollars, maybe like $250, $300, but it's bloody expensive. And they're pretty simplistic. I mean, it's the kind of thing. It's just like, I'll make that myself. You know, give me a cardboard box and some paint, and I'll make you one. I'll make you a little castle or something like that. So the pricing for these toys is phenomenal, and for what you get as well, you can see how they're trying to cut corners where they try and fob you off with, instead of giving you, I don't know, like let's say the doll will have a plastic mobile phone accessory. Well, instead they'll just give you a little cardboard cutout of a phone. And you're like, you cheap son of a bitches. McDonald's is doing a lot of that kind of thing where instead of giving you a plastic toy, they're trying to fob you off with card cutout crap. But the rant about the expensiveness of toys and the drop in quality, I did see a video that explained why this is happening, but I can't remember there is a reason why the toys are so expensive and the quality is dropping dramatically. It's not just because they're trying to swindle you. There is a little bit more behind the reason, I just can't remember what it is. Yeah, I mean, toy manufacturing for a period, like during my previous self-employment business, was a little bit like my jam. It was what I was into. Hot Wheels. I didn't have Hot Wheels. I had what they called micro cars, micro something, micro machines. Yeah, I think I might still have some of those around. Just like random ones, not particularly a collection as such. I did have a Scalextric I was pretty fond of. Oh my god, Starcom, that's got to be a UK thing. All right, there's your homework. Go watch some Starcom. I think the episodes are on YouTube. It's fantastic. Well, I think it is. I don't know if it's a UK thing. And the toys are brilliant as well. He-Man went MGTOW. Did he? I don't know. Have you guys seen the newer editions? Like how many renditions of He-Man have there been? You got the original, like the original He-Man, which hopefully we're all familiar with. But then you've got these Kevin, what's the latest one? Kevin, what's his surname? I've forgotten his surname. But the basically any other rendition of He-Man apart from the original is crap. What about the movie with Dolph Lundgren? Have you seen that? The Masters of the Universe. Yeah, I used to love that movie. Skeletor was actually pretty freaky. I was like, whoa. Look at us manly men, you MGTOW men, and you're talking about doll houses. Yes, you could tell. Just like a FYI, if ever you see me in the street, kind of thing, you could tell I'm a dad to a daughter because I'll be like walking around in the street holding a teddy bear or something or a doll in my hand, you know. Unless it's just like that dude's a weirdo. See, I think that's one of the. See, no, I did have some Star Wars. I'm not sure what happened to it. I might have to dig around and see what might have happened to it. Yeah, but it's nice that see, this is a good this is one of the qualities I like about like men. We don't forget our childhoodness in a way. Like we still have a fondness for our boys' toys, as it were. I don't know if the same could be said for girls. Like they might maybe still go on about Barbie or My Little Pony, but I don't. Do any of you ever see them speak of their toys with such zealous sort of like, yeah, like they want their. It's like you guys haven't grown up at all. Like F you, man. Don't shame me for my childhood. Yeah, and as we get older, us guys, as we get older, it's like the idea of buying toys, you know, it transforms in a way. Like we start maybe buying expensive cars. It's like the big boy stuff, or you know, or gadgets and gizmos or something like that. So that kind of the innocence of play doesn't seem to escape a man, whereas for a woman, I don't know. It almost seems maybe it's a sad note. It almost seems like it gets killed out of her. She doesn't really want to. Maybe it's a form of dissociation. She doesn't want to be reminded of her childhood, and then she becomes bogged down with her own antidepressants or whatever it is that her oppression, and then there's no room for that innocence of play anymore. Or her idea of innocence of play is trying to be a filthy, kinky sex beast in the bedroom, and she relives her youth that way. I don't know, but there does seem to be a striking difference between the grown-up boy and the grown-up girl. Their mentality and attitudes towards play and as an extension, life. Because I think guys as well, as we get older, we become a bit more like little pranksters. Like we like to have a good laugh. We like a good joke and play, a few little tricks. And all right, maybe it might be a bit mean-spirited or at someone else's expense, but we're being like little shitheads. We've returned to being a little shithead. And then society will try and shame you for it and be like, you're so childish, grow up. It's like, maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's the rest of you took it too seriously and like, I must grow up, I must be adult, and you got the wrong message. Maybe like being an adult isn't being a tyrant about it. Being an adult is having that sort of balance where you carry over things from the past in a way that complements or makes life a little bit less of a burden, maybe. Because that's another aspect where I feel, on the whole, people are not enjoying life, are they? There's a lot of angst about where we are in time now, where people are in their lives, and I think they're too scared to even think about what life is going to be like for them in the future. It's like a horror show. And I suppose that's a sad way of spending the rest of your days in life and forgetting about the things that used to make you happy or still could. I don't know. Maybe I'm just waffling now. But it's kind of funny. My kid's quite the prankster. I guess she takes that after me. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, her sense of humor, and it's kind of funny as well from an autistic girl or someone who's autistic, because from what I understand with autism, they tend to prefer things to be quite literal. So to have humor, like I think I might be wrong, sort of escapes them. It kind of goes over their head because they haven't got that sort of contextual awareness or contextual understanding. But she seems to have that, so she knows when people are, well, maybe she knows when I'm playing a trick on her, and she knows when I'm goofing around. She might not, I don't know how with other people. And well, anyway. So, let's see. Terrible me. I've got this banner on the screen that says a little music before we begin. It didn't even play any music, and it's been on the screen all this time. I'm the kind of guy that will walk out the house with his slippers on and be like, "Oh, still wearing my bathrobe." Oh. Yeah, I'm thinking of wrapping it up. Getting a bit too cold. Maybe I'll head off to bed soon. Yeah, but I thank you all for hanging around, having a little chin wag. So, yeah, I think I'll close it there. I don't see any like particular questions. I mean, I'll just give out a few shout outs or just randomly scroll up to say here. I see MGTOW Outlaw, Peng, Johnny Midnight, Mr. Hemi, Tim Angler, GM, you got D-Man, A-Man, A-Man, D-Man. Yeah, damn right. See, and there we go. Maybe we'll end with a little outro from D-Man. Be good to yourselves, guys, girls, people. You know, life is short. We're all gonna die, isn't it great? Yeah. All right. Be well. Hope to speak to you again soon. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be excellent to each other. Take care. Good night.